The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. Wrap this one up in green and white.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savage, and yes, I decided, you know what, you get to see my face. I think I'm going to spice it up, change it up a little bit, put a face to the name, to the podcast, to not just be someone behind the scenes that, you know, if I'm at a ball game and you see me, you want to say, hi, where are the kids? Now you know what I look like, you know what I'm saying? Just along the lines of that, I was thinking about it for a couple days, if I wanted to do, like a video side of it, and then maybe split it into audio eventually. I'm not sure how I want to do it yet, but that we're getting past the point here. The point here to this podcast, today's podcast, I think I'm going to name it, Did the RailCats Blow an Opportunity to Make the Playoffs? And I know that this is the second series back from basically the All-Star break. And you split a series with Winnipeg, and, you know, Cleburne, you dominated him the first game, you're dominating the second game, and then you blew it. And then you blew another one run lead today. I think it's time to hit the panic button a little bit, because I was sitting there thinking, I was at work and driving home, listening to it on the radio, and I'm sitting there going, it's 5-6 going into the ninth. I'm like, okay, they're probably gonna be. They brought in Jared Price. I'm like, okay, it's redemption time for him. And then Castillo makes an error. Like, you're gonna get out. It was the first batter at the inning, and it's just one of those, like, it was a nice, easy, routine play, and you drop it. You can't. Those mistakes come back to haunt you, and it did. And because right now the RailCats bullpen is very fragile, right? Anything that's going to happen will happen. Any error is going to come back and bite them. Any walk's going to come back and bite them. Cleburne scored 10 runs in the ninth inning. They just said, you know what? Just let the bats go. Let's have a heyday. And there was no salvaging it. They left Jared Price in there to suffer. He literally suffered 10 runs. He gave up 10 runs. Now, 6 were earned. I think there was a drop third. I didn't go back and watch it. I was just in absolute shock at the events that happened. Walks kill you. Anything that happened would happen in this series. You had a double play called back, basically, or not a non-call, and then you lose their absolute minds, and they give up a handful more runs. So I broke it down. All right, so I took it from just this series, and I took the game before the last series in Winnipeg, but that one excludes this what I'm talking about right here. So in game 1, right, the RailCats were up big, but I took it from the 7th inning pass, because that's your last third of the inning. And realistically, if I even just took the 9th and 10th inning, these numbers would still be outrageous. So in game 1, the RailCats were ahead by a lot, but they scored 2 runs. The Railroaders scored 3, right? So we're seeing a little bit of a trend here, okay? And then in game 2, RailCats scored 2, and that came in the bottom of the 10th. So they were scoreless all the way until the bottom of the 10th when Sam Abbott hit a 2-run shot. 12 runs. 12 runs by the Railroaders from the 7th inning to the 10th. 12 runs. 12. The third. This game just happened. Just this afternoon. The RailCats scored 0. 11 runs from 7th and on. And that was in the 9th inning. If I just took the numbers from the 9th, that would be outrageous. But then we're going to go back to just the game before Winnipeg. So I'm breaking it. I jump ahead sometimes. So the RailCats were outscored 26-4 from the 7th inning on. And then you tack on another 3. So it makes it 29 if you take the previous series, the last game. I wanted to see how far this trend was going, right? This is not good. This is not a recipe for success. This is bad. This is real bad. Someone's got to take a look at this bullpen, and something's got to be said. Someone's got to do something. Now, I'm not saying this was a hard-fought game. I'm not saying, that Jack Eisenberger may have not had his best night or best day. I mean, he pitched 3 innings, gave up 3 runs, all earned. He had 7 walks and 7 strikeouts. Like, okay, maybe you didn't get the best from him today, right? He's been in a little bit of a reliever realm. He's kind of been in that, so his starting, isn't really helping that much. Medea gave up a run. Phillips gave up a run. Josh Vincent came in. He walked 2 people, but he got out of the jam. And then Jarrett Price came in, and it all just went up into flames. I don't know what it is. The previous 6 or 5 relief appearances Price had, he did phenomenally. He pitched 1 inning. He shut the door. Nothing. He had 1 save. The bullpen hasn't been the same since Carlos Vega has left. Because when Carlos Vega came in, it was shutdown time. I don't think they have a shutdown man. I haven't seen it from anyone. It's just not there. Once the starter leaves, you kind of get that sinking feeling in your stomach going, oh, who are they going to bring in? Jack Eisenberger is maybe the only one, or Eisenbarger. I always say Burger. It's my bad. But Barger, he's the only one that I would say, okay, all right. You put him in, he's going to get you a couple, right? He's going to get you a couple innings, you'll be fine. But you put anyone else in, it just hasn't been the same. It just, the sinking feelings, just, and we're seeing a shift. At the beginning of the year, it was nothing but pitching, and the offense couldn't help you in anything. But the issue is that if you have very dominant pitching, and the pitching leads the team to 0, and you just score 1 run, you'll win a lot of games. Now, I'm not saying it's not sustainable. I said at the beginning of the year. It's not sustainable. Pitching, your pitchers aren't going to be lights out every day. They're going to have a bad stretch. It's just going to happen. It's the same thing with batting. But you have to learn to pick each other up somewhere, along the line. Pitching really hasn't been there. But there's a difference between hasn't been there and is nowhere in sight. This is just unbelievable. You blew a 10-run lead the day before. It's getting bad, and someone needs to ring these players in and say, we have to have a talk, because there's something not going right about this team right now. And I guess I'm just looking at the pitching aspect of it. It's not to do with the batting. I think everyone that they've put in the lineup has done very well. I mean, Engelman, or everyone except LG, Castillo, and Scantlin all had a hit today. Right? Everyone contributed in some sort of way. But when I look over and I see the batting averages, and yeah, some of them are kind of fluctuated a little bit because they're newer, but I see everything above 250, right? And at the beginning of the year, we weren't seeing that. So they're bringing in the offense, but there's just no pitching there. There's no defense. There's nothing. No one has. I don't know once the starting pitchers come outside, what are we going to do now? At this point, I don't know what to do. You try to burn your bullpen, but then you get burnt with the closing pitcher. They have to find a shutdown closing pitcher, right? They have to. They just need someone that that can be put in a high pressure situation and can shut the door, right? I just feel like there's just too many walks sometimes. You have an error, then you walk the guy hits a single, then you get a bobble by Mariaga, and everything from there just kind of goes up in flames. It was it's like a domino effect. You just do, and there you go, right? That can't happen. This is a big stretch of games. Like I said, then you're going, let's see here, once it loads up. No, that's not what I wanted. I guess it sort of is. It kind of looked weird. Something's not right. Oh, the way I put it in, I'll adjust. But I'll still talk while I'm talking. There's just not. It's starting to get scary, right? When you're sitting here and you're looking at everything, it's just starting to look scary. It's not looking good for the RailCats, and they're pitching. The offense has been there. Okay, so now we're facing Winnipeg again, right? And some redemption needs to be done here. And then you go down to Cleburne for 6 games. Are you going to be able to? You're going to have to pull 4 of 6 out of this. You're going to have to come to win. You have to win 2 out of 3. And And Winnipeg is going to Chicago. So this next series, this Winnipeg series is huge because you're a game and a half back now from I'm blanking again. I'm just so frustrated. I'm blanking. Against the Railroaders. You're a game and a half back. You're only a half game back with the loss last night, but you could have been the game and a half, 2.5 games up if you were to just swept them, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. Then they go play the Dogs, and the Dogs are the Dogs. They're gonna probably take care of business. Cleveland's going to, not saying that what they have done, and this is the other part. This absolutely killed me today when American Association tweeted that the Railroaders stole 12 times, successfully stole 12 times. I'm pretty sure there was 14 attempts because Creeley threw 2 people out, right? 12 times. That is not saying, that's 3 or 4 runs right there. Not counting them stealing home, but just going from first to second to third. Like, you can't give them free bases. I don't know. You can't blame the catcher all the time, right? A successful steal starts with the base runner paying attention to the pitcher and the pitcher not paying attention to the base runner, right? You have to keep an eye. I get it. Sometimes it slows the game down. But when it's 5-6 and you're letting people steal second and third, now granted, they got him out at third, but still, nonetheless, you can't let that happen. It's a high pressure situation. You have to look that runner back. You have to let him know that you're watching him. Right? I get it that you get in the mindset, you're just worried about, just the run, it's just the run. But when there's no outs and a guy on third, like, it's just like a guy in second, you get a bloop and a blast and the game's blown wide open. You can't have that anymore. You can't let that happen. And this is what's happening, is the people are just running all over the RailCats and the pitching staff doesn't care. I don't get it. I get it that it slows the game down and may be boring. You go to the away stadiums and you throw the pitcher and they all boo, blah, 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 this and that. But Cleveland also showed that you still have to be able to play small ball. You can't just let it be all offense, all home runs, all doubles, all triples. You can't let it be. Sometimes you have to bring strategy into it. Sometimes you have to lay down a sacrifice bunt. And yes, I get that it's a new era in the RailCats, but at the beginning of the year, you saw a little bit of small ball because that was the team that they had. And you saw a handful of games won just based on the small ball. Then Danielle Ingwall stealing a bunch of bases. Where's all that gone? Where's the aggression? I don't see any. I just see them just relying on home runs and doubles. You're not going to win every game. You can't do that. You have to be strategic. Baseball is a chess match, right? It's a chess match, right? You make a move here, or you start at the mound and the pitcher, the mound and the batter, right? The pitcher's like, all right, this is what I'm going to throw. And the batter's like, well, what is he going to throw? Okay, he threw me this last time. This was successful against me last time, but this didn't work. It's always there's always little things going on in baseball, right? And that's what makes baseball so entertaining for the people that actually understand the game of baseball, is the little nuances in each little game. There's a game within inside of a game. I think that's with any sport you really have, but baseball, you have the ability to sit there and think. A lot of it's thinking and not a lot of reacting. Football, you got defense, basically tells the offense what they're going to do. And, I know that most people think that the offense dictates what the defense does, but it really doesn't. Even take it in the sense of baseball, right? The pitcher has a game of attack, right? But the batter is the offensive player, So what the pitcher does dictates what the batter does. The same thing in football and same thing in most sports. If the defense is locked down one thing, the offense has to adjust. So that's why they say defenses win championships. Well, where does defense start for baseball? It starts on the mound. You can't give up free walks. You can't give up free bases. And then it goes on to the outfield. Then it goes on to the players, right? The field, the position players, right? You can't have an error. You can't have a routine pop up and just drop it. It just can't happen, right? I get it that sometimes you just have a mental lapse or a physical lapse and it just happens. You can understand in the infield, a bad hop, something going on. Ground balls are not always the easiest, and not saying that fly balls are also the easiest as well, but once it's in your mitt, you gotta hold on to it. It's really not that hard. Go down to Little League, get your hand on it. Get your other hand on it. You catch the ball, get your hand on it, right? Secure it. Let it be. That's one out. That is less pressure Jared Price has to deal with, right? But instead, there's a guy sitting on second because he stole and so on and so forth. It's just the little mistakes that the RailCats are making now that are going to cost them down the road. Now, on the flip side of it, Cleveland has been on a hot streak, right? They coming in winning 8 games straight, right? Now they've won 10 out of 11 games. Like, their offense has shown that they can score runs in the later innings. But now what do the RailCats have to do now, right? You're past the halfway point. You're on the bubble of the playoffs. What do they need to do now? They need to work fundamentals. I know, it's a long season. It's 100 games. You're playing every day. You get one day off here, but still, this stuff has to still be work. You do batting practice every day. Why can't you get a couple ground balls? Why can't you get a couple, pop flies? They just need... They need to have some confidence to them. That's what I at the beginning of the year, the RailCats had no expectation throughout the league. None whatsoever, right? So there was always a willingness to fight, to prove yourself, right? And you go on a 6-7 game winning streak, you're feeling confident, you battled Kansas City pretty hard. You took it to Kane County a couple times. Lincoln, you fought through games, right? You had a handful of comeback wins. It was great. Now they're on the flip side of all of that. They're in a little bit of a rut mentally, right? The batting is not. Yeah, okay, they got shut out in Winnipeg like the last game, right? Okay, you got shut out. That happens. It happens to everyone. It happens to the best of the teams. It happens to the World Series championships. It happens, right? The best teams in baseball, it happens to. That's just part of baseball. I just think they're in a mental slump here, right? This has nothing to do physically. It's a mental slump. They let one bad thing happen, it snowballs into a big effect, and boom, they lost the game, right? Do I count the RailCats out? No, but this next 2 series are big. Winnipeg is a very beatable team. They can't let mental mistake happen. And if they sweep them at home, that's going to be a huge boost going 6 games on the road down to Texas, down there in Cleveland. And if you take 4 out of 6, you are in business, right? You're like I said, this part of their lineup, you don't see Chicago anymore, right? You're coming down to a last handful. Realistically, if we're breaking this down fully, right? There's a handful more series left, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, my bad. They do face Chicago one more time. My bad. That's in August. I guess they face a little bit more. My bad. I thought they were done with them. They face them at the end of the year. They face them in August, beginning of August, and end of August. So those series, they may not win those ones, just how it is. But this is the point where you have to, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4 more series until you face Chicago at Impact Field. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 more series left, right? And a handful of those are 3 games, handful of those 4. And then you have the last 6 games are at home, and that's against King County, Milwaukee. Like that chunk, you go from Chicago to King County to Milwaukee. That last little bit, and then you have you can even put Fargo Moorheads in that one. The end of October, beginning of September is going to be very difficult for the RailCats. This is the part of the lineup where they need to win, because before they face the Dogs at Impact Field August 9th, you have Sioux Falls, Lincoln, Cleburne, and Winnipeg. Those are all very winnable series. When I look at this, realistically, What needs to happen is you're not going to win every game down in Cleveland. That is going to be very difficult to win every game down in Cleveland. I just don't think it's going to happen. If it does, great. But you have 4 more series. You have to at least sweep 2 of them, right? That's what they got to be. They have to. It's creeping up. They have to be pushing forward. They have to be. They have to calm themselves down, regroup, and push forward is what they need to do. They need to come together as a team and figure everything out. Because, again, when we look at the division, we look at the standings, they're a game and a half back from Cleveland, right? And the Dockhounds aren't really that far behind. They're only 2 games behind you at this point. Now, you're probably not going to catch King County, who is 4.5 games up. You're not going to catch Winnipeg, or not Winnipeg. You're not going to touch Milwaukee, who's 6. My bad. Your King County's 5.5, and then Milwaukee's like 6, right? And then you're 16 behind the Dogs. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to touch the threshold of 3. So you have to be battling for 4 the entire time, and everyone's within 2, right? You're within 2. Right? And RailCats are smack right in the middle of that. Right? They go into a major slump. They start losing games. They're at the bottom of the division again. They can't let that happen. This team, what this has shown this year, or at least this series have shown, the RailCats are a good team, but they're not a great team. Okay? When you have games that are down to the wire with one run on the line and you have to close it out and you don't, you're not great. You're just good. You're good enough to beat the bad teams, and that's it. Right? You're an average, maybe above average, but you're not a great team. If you go out there and you dominate the Dogs and you dominate Milwaukee and you dominate Fargo when you face them, then you'll be a great team. But the Cleveland Railroaders, come on, they were the worst team. They couldn't get off the schneid. They lost like 18 in a row. It was crazy. Like, they just couldn't win a game to save their life. And now they're in a playoff spot. You let them catch you, right? All-Star break, all of us RailCats were feeling great. 2 series into it, after the All-Star break, I'm like, all right, we're going to throw in the towel now? We can't let that happen. Someone's got to pull that locker room together. And I know there has been a lot of ins and outs and people going left and right, throwing people out, bringing people in. I get there's a lot of commotion going on. But it's not like that commotion that's going on has hurt the team in the aspect of the offense production. It's the pitching. You're bringing the offense, but you're not concerned about the pitching. Pitching's going to win you games. They're going to win you championships if you focus on the defense, right? And the defense starts with the pitching. You are never going to tell me that a World Series team is going to win the World Series when they have people that have above a 5 ERA, right? No, most of them are low 3s, high 2s-ish, right? At least the top 4 are in that realm a little bit. Maybe occasionally a 4, lower 4 or high 3. Tell me I'm wrong, because I would like for someone to go show me that a rotation averaged a 5 ERA. Like, okay, can't really say average because you could have like the 5th guy, or the 6th guy in the rotation who's just absolutely terrible, but you just like ate a contract, short a deal. But when you at least the top 3, top 4, I mean, that's who you go into, right? That's when you get in the postseason. That's your top 4, right? It's very rare that you're going to have a pitching staff that is absolutely horrendous winning the World Series. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying that their starting pitching isn't horrible, because it's really not. It's been dominant most of the year. Yeah, you're going to have some bad outings. But the bullpen, you put the bullpen in, you get that little sinking feeling like, this isn't good. This isn't good. And it turns out not to be good. So I think they just need to go out and they need to find bullpen arms, and they just need to start throwing and seeing if it sticks. right? At this point, to salvage the season, and this showed me that there's cracks, and they're getting bigger. But that's just going to wrap it up for me, my little rant. I would love you guys to hear your rants, what you think that the RailCats should do, what was the downfall of the RailCats in this series, you know, what do they need to do to turn it around? I'd love to hear your guys' ideas, so make sure to comment down below, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit me over on Twitter, follow me on there, Facebook. I do a lot of posting on the Facebook, a lot of posting on the Twitter. I know a lot of my fans probably more on the Facebook than the Twitter side, so I tend to lean a little bit more towards the Facebook side. Twitter does go out there, but be sure to follow me there. Comment down below. I'll try to get back to you when I can. I know these podcasts are a little late just because of how my work schedule is and, you know, games and stuff like that. So it is what it is. I'm running a full-time job. Fiance got to make happy, so sometimes in life you got to balance it out and things get pushed to the rear a little bit, and the podcast does, but it's always on my mind. It's not saying I don't love doing this podcast, because I love doing it, love watching the RailCats, like interacting with fans, seeing the fans, you know, you guys have shown your support, and I appreciate it. So if you enjoyed today's podcast, like I said, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're listening to this, watching this, however you want to put it, and go Cats.